Welcome to this week's edition of Car Wash Confessions with the Wash Boys. Jonathan Kieran with Superstar Car Wash, alongside George Oden with Ardent Advisory Group. George, it's been a while. Nice to see you.
Jonathan, it is great to be back.
It is, and it's just you and me today.
I like that even better.
I do too. It's good. We're going to have some good conversation today. So excited to be back in the studio, and the weather is starting to break a little bit in Phoenix. So we got I have my long sleeve on today, only because my office is so cold. I don't control the temperature, so it's a little cold for me, but it's all good.
I'm not quite ready for long pants yet.
No, neither am I.
But you know, that's okay.
Hey,
I'll wear the long sleeves.
Wear the long sleeves. That's good. Well, thank you to our sponsor, Welcome Mat Services, for being a partner with us. We're very appreciative of that. Let's jump into this week's confessions. George, it's been a while since we chatted. What do you got to confess this week?
Oof. It's with heavy heart.
Heavy heart?
That I confess. So
Ooh.
my wife is an intellectual, which marrying an intellectual is a confession in and of itself, but we'll save that.
Good point.
She's really smart. She's got a PhD. She's a writer. She's this. She's that. Whatever. It's all, but she still can't make her phone work. So that's, so all that means very
Two sides of the brain just can't work together.
So in any event, she does, and we do puzzles. Like we do the Sunday Times together, Sunday Times crossword. Every Sunday we get it in actual print.
Yeah.
Did you know that it is $65 a month to get the Sunday Times delivered to your home?
Actually, I did know that because I used to be a loyal New York Times Sunday reader.
Over
that is craziness.
$16 a copy.
That is nuts.
But we do it because
it's worth it.
No, it's inertia.
Okay.
It's inertia.
All right. Fair enough.
So we do that. We do the connections, which is one of my favorite New York Times things. It comes up with, do you know it?
That I don't know.
16 words.
Okay.
And you group them in groups of 4 that are related. And they're obscure. And then they'll do something where there are 5 good answers for one that you come up with, but you have to figure out which one belongs in a different grouping. And it's complicated, it's challenging, and my wife will look at it and 4.5 seconds later pound it out, and it's done, and she sends me the text with with it perfectly, because you don't give away the answer by sending the text, it's just the result.
Okay.
So I struggle because I'm not particularly bright, and so I'll struggle through and I'll miss one, and I'll get it in 5 instead of the perfect 4,
right.
And I'll send it back, and she'll mock me.
She's mocking
She'll
you.
mock
What
me
does mocking you
openly.
look like? Okay.
Oh, George, you're not very intellectually astute, are you? Something, that really cuts
I
to the
never
bone
thought I'd heard
like
those
that.
words, but okay.
It's terrible. So I've taken to cheating.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
So once again, this is the beauty. I'm not sure she even knows that there are websites that at 12:01 have already figured it out and put the answer online. So,
okay.
And she doesn't think I'm as evil as I really am.
Okay.
So she'll get it in 5, which happens occasionally.
Yeah.
I'll come back and get it in 4, and I will mock her.
That's beautiful.
I'm afraid the cat's out of the bag now.
Does she listen to the podcast?
Well, I don't know.
All right, we won't send her the link for this one.
That's a fair question.
That's a good confession. I like that. That's
yeah,
good.
but I had,
You're feeling guilty though.
I am feeling a little guilty,
Yeah.
but at some point, I just can't. I can't take the inferiority complex.
I understand. Yeah. So what do you think you need to do to overcome that?
Cheat.
Okay.
I think that'll be fine.
I love it. There you go. That's awesome. Well, mine is another one of these what I'll call George from Seinfeld moments, and I do have to kind of set this up a little bit. Yeah, Bosco. I've been married for 25 years. I married a woman whose dad was like MacGyver. The guy could fix anything, and it was very, very handy. And when we first got married, I was not. And over the years, I've gotten much better through tutelage and learning, and now I kind of like pride myself on, hey, I can get stuff done around the house. I can actually do the things that need to happen. And I think I got a little bit too cocky because my wife
Flew
said
too close to the sun.
yeah, I flew a little too close to the sun because what happened was we have in our garage we have a light switch, and the light switch was loose, and so it wasn't like turning on and turning off the entire time. So my wife says to me the other day, "Hey, can you switch out that light switch?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." It really is a 5-minute project. Like all it is you take the old light switch off and you put the new light switch in. Should be very, very simple. And because I thought it was not that big of a deal, and typically when you shut the switch off at the at the breaker, it's not a problem. So I go to change the light switch out, and I did not go to the breaker box and turn the breaker off. So that was mistake number one. So of course I got electrocuted, which this is not the first time that has happened
And
to me.
Normally
Okay.
110 volts. It's not
Yeah,
bad.
but it wasn't like too bad of a shock. It was enough to draw me to say a very bad word. And of course, my wife is sitting right outside of it, and I come out and I'm mad, and I walk outside and I go to the breaker box and I shut off the breaker, or so I thought. And so I go back again, and not only did I get electrocuted once, but I got electrocuted twice. And the second time was pretty bad, to the point where my finger was bothering me for like 2 days. And I had to take Motrin. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? I thought, oh, did I permanently damage my finger? Fortunately, I didn't. I finally did shut the entire breaker box off, but I hooked everything up the right way, and it still doesn't work. So the moral of the story is, an electrician is coming to my house to fix the 5-minute project. So I have been humbled, and will not be as cocky about my home fixer-upper abilities any longer. And note to self, as my father, who I told this story to, reminded me, why didn't you shut the breaker off? Don't you have a tester that shows whether or not the thing? Yes, Dad, I do. Did you use it? No, I did not. So.
If I had used it, Dad, would we be having this conversation?
Yes, exactly. And then mistake number 2 is telling my dad that story. And then of course he lectures me, goes through this whole spiel, and he goes, "Yeah, I was changing something out the other day. Yeah, I didn't shut the breaker off either. I didn't get electrocuted, but I didn't shut the breaker off." I'm like, "Well, there you go." So the apple does not fall far from the tree. So, well, hey, it's you and me. We haven't chatted for a while, just the two of us, and a lot going on in the car wash business. Thought to ask you, like, kind of what's happening in the M&A world these days, and what are you seeing? And the last time we kind of had a check-in around this was, midsummer, and have things changed? Like, what are you seeing on your end, and what's the sense in your world?
So the news hasn't gotten any better.
Okay.
It was pretty grim then. It's pretty grim now. I think it feels like there are little rays of hope. You hear something anecdotally that leads you to believe that things might be loosening up a little bit. But we're still in a high interest rate environment. We're still looking at lenders who are probably kind of full on their exposure to car wash. The sale leaseback market, which was really hanging in tough, cap rates have started to go up a little bit, which isn't good news if you're selling a wash. We still, I still remember every week getting the feedback from ICWA. They have the website.
Yeah.
This news this week. And you've seen a bunch of people saying such and such open their 100th car wash, or such and such open their 200 car wash. But it used to be such and such acquires such and such.
Yeah.
And it's you haven't seen one of those in a very, very long time.
No, you haven't.
And there haven't been those transactions. There have been transactions that have been done that are equity infusions. When Oaktree took a controlling position in Magnolia, as an example, when Wafra made a significant investment in Spotless, when CCMP made a meaningful investment in Mammoth. Those are great for the respective companies because they've allowed them to have a lot of dry powder to go out and do things and make things happen. But we're still at a spot, unfortunately, where the disconnect between seller expectations and buyer expectations is there.
So that hasn't changed much. I mean, I think the last time we talked, we thought, maybe it'll start coming back down to earth. Has it?
It has at the lower level. It has at the onesie twosies. There are sellers at the single site level who are reasonably expecting kind of a 7 times EBITDA number where they were looking for a 15 before, and those transactions are actually getting done. We've sold a number of single washes. So that continues to happen, and we've signed a number up recently. Feels like the velocity of the activity is picking up a little bit as well. You're also going to run into people who wanted to postpone selling. They wanted to sell. They didn't want to do it anymore. They wanted to get out. They wanted to retire. Whatever reason.
Yeah.
Or they have a balloon payment on a piece of debt that comes due, and they have to get out. Those folks are starting to enter the market with more realistic expectations. I haven't seen a large chain, that's owned by a private equity shop that got in to make the big score, if you will. I haven't seen those kind of grabbing on to the valuation reality that we're in today, nor would I necessarily expect to.
Yeah.
They're patient. They have some time, and they're gonna continue to grow through development. I'll tell you, that's gone crazy though.
Yeah.
If you can't grow through buying, people are growing through building.
Yeah. I mean, that is what you're seeing in all the car wash news is opening up this location, that location. It's our case as well. We're opening new sites from a greenfield perspective, so which is exciting. But to your point, that seems to be the trend these days.
I also, I had a theory that we didn't necessarily need interest rates to go down. We needed interest rates to stabilize. And I think we're starting to see that. We're starting to feel that. And I don't think I was wrong. I think that, the activity will pick up, but I think activity will pick up at lower valuation levels because you can't pay as much when the interest rate is this much higher, but you don't have that deep fear that the interest rate's going to go up another 5% versus
Right.
where it was today. So you can actually enter the market. So I feel like there is reason for some optimism. I wish I had a crystal ball as to when that optimism would bear fruit. I think it's not tomorrow, but it's potentially in 2024. And again, there will be, for whatever reason, there will be great chains that come available because people have to get out. And I think we're going to see more of the equity partner. I think we're going to see, the folks who put their own money in, who were bootstrapping on a site-by-site basis, try to find somebody with a little deeper pocket of money where they can go out and, sell some of their equity, but go out and continue developing with the help of someone else. We've gotten more calls like that than we have in, ever.
Oh,
that I
interesting.
remember.
Yeah. Wow. When you think about, kind of, we've been saying, gosh, it feels like for 18 months or so, hey, the economy is going to tank, the economy is going to tank, the economy is going to tank. And it's like waiting for a shoe to drop. It really hasn't happened. And, retail sales are forecasting, a modest 2%, increase for the holiday period. I think it's going to be very telling to see what happens this year, what people are buying, and what position retailers are, from a macro standpoint. Coming from a brick and mortar, background, I tend to really kind of look towards that as a baseline of what's going to happen. But then you throw in the fact that, hey, next year's an election year, and election years are always weird, in terms of people's spending. But did
you watch the debate last night?
I did not watch the debate last night.
It's going to be a weird year.
It's going to be a weird year.
I can tell you that for sure. Whatever your politics are, it's going to be a weird year.
It's going to be a very weird year. No, I did not watch the debate last night. But, it's interesting, when we think about, the holiday forecast and what's happening. I still think, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. People love to get their cars washed. I think, on the M&A side, from your, use your words, it's been grim and it continues to look grim. But I think the overall health of the industry in general, continues to be good. Although there was some surprising news this week. Driven Brands came out and said that they were kind of putting the brakes on their, Take 5 growth and going to close some locations. But I don't know. Is your perspective that that's maybe more of an isolated incident, or what? Just interested in your point of view about that.
I think we've seen people canceling development. We've seen people walking away from deals with developers. We've seen people walking away from real estate transactions, and I think that's a very natural response to I'm going to buy everything because money's free, and all of a sudden money's not free anymore, and you have 25 projects. You can only afford to do 15. You're going to choose the 15 best projects, and you're going to let the other 10 go.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing some of that, and I don't think that's unhealthy.
No, I agree with you.
I think the best sites are the ones that should be built, and I think that's kind of universally true.
Yeah.
There are great sites still to be had out there. It is not an oversaturated market, and you hear concern that that's the case. I'm not the least bit concerned that that's the case.
So I guess, it's positive that you're getting a lot more calls, that people are, interested in doing some things. I think it's just a question of how quickly can those come to fruition, and is there a market for it?
I think it's a question of how quickly can it come to fruition, and what are those things that people are asking us to do?
Yeah.
What would they like in terms of dollars? What would they like in terms of being able to grow and exit? And it's you still get the crazy calls. You still get my single wash is worth $22 million because it's in a great corner. And it's like, well, it's been open 6 years and doing $400,000 of EBITDA. It's like, yeah, but it's then scrape it and sell it. I mean, it's like you can't sell it as a car wash and expect to get $20 million. It may be worth $20 million as a Chick-fil-A, so sell it to Chick-fil-A. You still get plenty of that, but it feels like everybody's getting a little more realistic. The buyers are. Buyers are out there with the ones who have money are jealously guarding that money and looking forward to opportunities to buy things really cheap. And there are circumstances where that works out, but that's not going to be the norm. And there are people out there who have assets and nice assets who feel like they're going to sell them for a lot, and that's not either.
Yeah.
I mean, so it just feels like people are kind of coming to the right level, and it's going to take a while. I'm not going to buy the Maserati this year, I don't think, but I might have to give up my season tickets to the Cardinals. Although that's a confession in and of itself that I have Arizona Cardinal season tickets.
That is a confession. That absolutely, yeah. And it's hard to believe they still have 4 home games left.
They do one this Sunday, and Kyler Murray is coming back.
Yeah, okay. I guess they really don't want Caleb Williams.
So here's the question. I mean, we're digressing a little bit.
Yeah, we are digressing.
But somebody who won the Heisman Trophy last year and looked so unbelievably strong, is he still Caleb Williams? Is he still the guy? Is he still number one? I don't know.
I listen to a lot of sports talk, and they're all saying that he is. Every single one is saying
I
that
hear
he is.
that, but it had to have cost him money staying that extra year.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. I think really the question is going to be is where is he going to end up? Like tonight we've got a football game on where and I'm the guy that comes home and I automatically turn the TV on.
Toilet bowl.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like Chicago against Carolina, and there was one sportscaster this morning.
We're rooting for Carolina, by the way.
Yes,
as Cardinals fans.
Yeah, we are
for the
rooting.
record.
Yes,
Let's be clear.
We are rooting for Carolina. Right. But I heard one sportscaster this morning who said that this is the Super Bowl for the Bears, the Panthers, the New York Giants, and the Arizona Cardinals, because this is going to determine who gets Caleb Williams. Yeah, I think they look at these guys in terms of raw talent and what that looks like. I don't know. I heard a rumor that he might even think about staying in another year, staying at USC. But I don't. Why
Well,
would
it's
he do
going to
that?
be hard for us to be this
Yeah.
bad next year too.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
that would be a challenge.
Yes, I agree. It's been
Yeah.
very painful to
Yeah, it
watch
is.
on that end.
So, Jonathan,
Yeah.
not so much about me.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you do for a living.
What do I do for a living?
Tell us about
Yeah.
your job.
Yeah, I lead the sales and marketing team for Superstar Car Wash.
I did actually know that.
I know
by
you
the
knew
way.
that. Yeah. I'm responsible for driving our membership sales, and then in conjunction with that, all of our marketing efforts around driving traffic into our locations and working with our partners and
So,
that piece.
so you were in a perfect position to know operationally what the mood of the country is. I mean, I could tell you what the mood of the country is from the M&A and the financing perspective. And why don't you tell us, like, what's happening with
Yeah.
memberships? What's happening with
Yeah, I mean,
with with non-member sales? I
Yeah.
mean, where do you feel the market going? And I assume you have your finger on the pulse, not just of Superstar, but of other.
yeah, and I'll speak from a macro perspective because I think you read the public reports and retail non-member traffic continues to be a challenge across the industry. But I think that's probably related to two things. Number one is as the push for memberships from every car wash company has become more, you're taking a retail customer and turning them into a member. So you're going to see some of that retail traffic, just naturally go down. And then I also do think that this, kind of looming, what's going on with the economy? Hey, do I really want to spend $20 to get my car washed every week as opposed to, or, once a month or whatever they were doing it from a retail perspective. But I also will tell you that I think consumer sentiment continues to be strong just in general. And that's why I do watch what's going on in the retail world. I was hoping, potentially to have somebody who does retail recruiting on, who specializes strictly on the retail side, has done some work in the car wash retail recruiting. I was speaking with her last week, and I said, tell me what's going on. Companies continue to still hire. They're still looking for talent. There has been on the retail side of the world, some changes in terms of cutbacks with, headcount, et cetera. I'm not talking car wash. I'm talking like companies like, Caleres, that's famous footwear, and Rue 21, and where they're trying to become more efficient. And a lot of times those moves will happen after Christmas, but there's a few companies that did that pre-holiday, which I thought was an interesting move for that to happen. But I don't think it's going to impact the customer experience by any
So just
stretch of the
realistically,
imagination.
if you're firmly in the middle class,
Yeah.
and a lot of what you spend money on is groceries or gas or day-to-day necessities, I can't help but marvel at how expensive it is to go to the grocery store or go to the gas station or go out to dinner. I mean, it to me, in my humble opinion, feels like it's doubled or tripled.
Yeah.
I just it's nuts.
But it doesn't, you're right, it is, but it's painful, I think, for that group of individuals and for everybody. I mean, I hate paying $5, for a gallon of gas. Probably, you own a gas station, so. But
Yeah,
yeah. But the point is I don't. It doesn't feel like. And again, I'm saying feel. It's my piece. I go out. I'm out on the weekends. I see what's happening. I mean, strip centers have cars in them. People are still spending money. But the real question is, and I don't know the answer to this, is, what's going on with credit card debt? Is it all just people just charging and, living the way that they were previously, but that consumer debt has gone up? And my understanding, in aggregate is it is. And at some point we're going to have to pay the piper to that piece. But I think this holiday season, I think, is going to be really telling. And again, 2 to 3% moderate, growth. But where is that growth going to come out of? Is it come out of consumer electronics? Is it going to come out of, your retail ready to wear? I don't think that's where it's going to be. I think it's going to be more in, I'll call them novelty items, the things that people, really want, like is VR going to be bigger this year in terms of holiday gifting and that type of thing? But, I just keep waiting, like, when is it going to happen? And it hasn't. And so, maybe we're just being resilient enough through all of it that, that consumer sentiment is listen, inflation is inflation. But I also think, and again, this is just my personal opinion, I think companies are obviously just, I don't want to say they're keeping pace with inflation in terms of people's compensation, but in aggregate, people are being paid more today than they were 2 years ago.
Sure.
And so I do think that's been some of the offset there. And I can say that because, when we're hiring people, the salaries that people are asking for and looking for are higher than they were 2 years ago.
Have you been getting plenty of good raises?
That's a really good question, George. I'm
I think,
okay.
I think I flustered
I'm
you.
Good. I'm good, George. But I think that I think that the consumer that's out there looking for a job is they're looking for more dollars, obviously, and so especially in that middle demographic that we deal with in the car wash industry in terms of competing with the QSRs and those other pieces. I think we have to be competitive from a dollar standpoint. You've got this $20 retail wage that's going to happen in California, and the minimum wage increases that happen every year. So I do think to some degree that's been offset. People may not feel it in the aggregate in terms of the net, but it's offsetting some of what's happening from that standpoint. But the question is just how high can that ceiling go? Companies can't afford to just keep going and going and going. So these are the question marks, that we ultimately end up having.
But you feel to me like you're bullish.
I am bullish. I am very bullish, and I think that the car wash industry itself, and I say
recommend
this,
not going into business selling car washes.
That's right. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, thank you for that advice.
That's my fatherly advice.
But I really do, and the reason that I say that, and I say this a lot, is when you think about your car, unless you own a home, your car is your most valuable possession. And there was recently research that came out from the International Car Wash Association. And so if you haven't read it or don't have access to it, quarterly they do a survey, a consumer survey. It's called the Pulse. And I sit on an advisory board with a couple of other car wash folks where we say, here's what we're interested in knowing, here's kind of what we'd like to better understand. So appreciative of the folks over at ICA for allowing me to be part of that. But the recent survey came out, and they said, over 80% of people who get their car washed, it's an emotional decision. It's an emotional decision because getting their car washed makes them feel good. It makes them feel good. They like to have a clean car. It's my wife's birthday, so I want my car to be clean, or I have a special event, or I do this. And so beyond just protecting your investment, which it's a big investment, you feel good when you drive around in a clean car, I have a 16-year-old daughter, and so she just started driving, and she's got a car, and it's a hand-me-down car. It's nothing special or anything else like that. I got her a membership. She's there like twice a week. She's 16 years old. She can't keep her room clean. And I love her. Like her room, my wife is like, her room is always a disaster, but her car is immaculate. Her car is immaculate. I mean, it's never dirty, and she's always at the car wash. And, that says something because I think people feel good about that. So, when you're making a decision about, hey, here's where I want to spend some discretionary dollars, well, you know what? It makes me feel good. I'm going to get my car washed, or I'm going to buy a membership, and then I don't have to worry about taking money out of my pocket every time I go.
I have another confession.
Yeah.
My wife bought a membership because it was on a, it was the special,
Yeah,
the
special.
first month,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I looked at the credit card bill. I'm like, well, first of all, it's not Superstar, so come on.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that.
I mean,
Thank you.
I won't say who it was.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, I meant to cancel that. And because it's going to cost $20 next month. So I'm like, oh no, I got to tell Jonathan.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. So yeah, so I mean, I feel bullish about it, and I really do, and that's one of the reasons why I love this industry is because we do make a difference in people's lives, and I think that's maybe it's a little cheesy. I don't know what I was gonna say, but I've worked in businesses before where people were mad, people were like angry, like I can tell you some stories from working in the grocery business where customers are just angry. You don't see a lot of angry people at car washes. You really don't. And so, we have a chance to, in a small way, make a difference in somebody's life. That's kind of a neat thing. And that's what makes me get up in the morning.
Low stake, low cost, and it's on balance. It's one of the positive things that happens in your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Well, it's been great chatting with you, George. We're ready to give you some fatherly advice sponsored by Welcome Mat Services.
I don't know. I want to know what's the big deal at your house for Thanksgiving?
We were really low key at Thanksgiving. The one thing that's difficult, and I don't know if your daughter's coming back, but I have 5 kids, and as they've gotten older and have moved out of the house, it's not everybody's here. So it's tough for my wife and I because we got that kind of that sad, it's not sadness, but incompleteness of not having the whole family around. So we've always been really low key. But as a side note, and you may or may not remember that my daughter had surgery last year on Thanksgiving, emergency surgery. So we didn't even do Thanksgiving last year. So this year we're going to do it all up, and we just kind of hang out and watch football and just try to have a nice, relaxing day.
Turkey, stuffing,
yeah, we
gravy,
do turkey,
the whole
stuffing,
thing?
gravy, sweet potatoes, the green bean casserole.
The whole shooting match.
We do the whole shooting match. Yeah.
Outstanding.
How about you?
A few years ago, my daughter will not be coming. We get her for Christmas. That's the deal she and her boyfriend cut,
Okay.
and I am perfectly happy with that deal.
Okay, that's good. Because
so
we
that's
know how you feel about Christmas.
That's a win.
Yeah, that's a win. Okay, that's good.
So I actually got so tired of cooking turkey because it's just I don't know. It's not a particularly good meat
Yeah.
as meat goes. So I make beef Wellington
Ooh.
for Thanksgiving now.
Very nice.
Yeah,
I
and
like
it's
it.
the people who come over. It's always popular, and it's not as hard to make as you'd think.
Interesting. We've been talking about doing that for a Christmas dinner for a while, so you'll have to give me your recipe.
I will give
Yeah,
you the recipe.
that's
It's pretty
awesome.
simple.
So what's your advice? Do you have that Thanksgiving advice?
So no, I do not. I have I got advice from an analyst who works for me.
Okay.
He is a degenerate sports gambler,
Okay.
and he said his advice was, if you want a sure thing, always bet the first half under of college basketball games. 63% last year
Really?
came in.
Okay.
First half under college basketball.
All right. I guess that's good advice. We'll have to.
I think that's really good advice.
63%. Okay, that's good. I'll have to check out my FanDuel account. Now that
Our
college
producer's
basketball-
now writing it down.
Yes, she is. Wow. Well, a dear, dear, dear friend of mine. I've known him for years. His daughter got married recently, and I unfortunately couldn't make it to the wedding. But he sent me his Father of the Bride speech, and so I was able to watch it about a week or two ago. And his advice that he gave to his daughter and new son-in-law was, be aware. And I really was like thinking about it, and his whole point was, be aware of each other, be aware of the outside influences that, can impact your marriage. And he went on for 11 minutes about it, which I will not do. But I really thought about it. I'm like, that's really good advice. Not only just be aware of your surroundings and what's going on, but, be aware, be on the lookout for things that, could derail you from what your goals are. Be aware of the things that can get in the way of the relationships that you have. So I really kind of took that to heart, and that's my advice this week is be aware.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, George, I don't know if I'm going to, I will see you, but I don't know if we'll see each other here. I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I hope that you have a great, it's hard to believe it's the end of November.
We are getting together next week.
I'll see you next week,
okay.
but I don't know that we'll be here in this
podcast,
forum
yeah,
on the
okay.
podcast.
All right, fair enough.
But it's been a great time chatting with you, and thanks to all of our listeners, and we'll talk to you again on the next episode of Car Wash Confessions.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, George.
Are you ready to accelerate your business by capturing more membership at-bats? Introducing Welcome Mat, the nation's leading car wash digital marketing platform. Say goodbye to empty lanes and hello to a steady stream of new potential members. Welcome Mat's sophisticated digital targeting helps you drive more at-bats by reaching highly likely car wash members who live by or commute by any of your locations. The Welcome Mat marketing platform provides real-time results of each campaign by connecting to your car wash POS and captures customer data for ongoing digital retargeting for membership conversion. Don't miss out on this opportunity to revolutionize your car wash business. Try our leading car wash digital marketing platform today. Drive success, grow membership. Contact us now for a free demo at welcomemat.com.